Okay, it's 8:30, so I will call to order the Las Virgenes-Malibu Council of Government June meeting. It is June 21st, 8:30 a.m. This meeting will take place remotely in accordance with Government Code Section 54953E at SEC AB 361 and Resolution 2101 adopted by the Las Virgenes-Malibu Council of Government Governing Board on October 19th, 2021. To follow the provisions in AB 361 and ensure the safety of the COG Governing Board, staff, and the public for the purpose of limiting the risk of COVID-19, in-person public participation at the meeting will not be allowed. To allow for public participation, the COG Governing Board will conduct its meeting through Zoom video communications. Members of the public can observe and participate in the meeting. To observe the meeting, download Zoom on any phone, tablet, or computer device and enter the following meeting link, which is too long to read. A public agenda packet is available on the COG's website, LVMCOG.org. Members of the public who wish to comment on matters before the governing board have two options. Make comments limited to 3 minutes during the public comment period, or submit an email with the written comments limited to 1,000 characters to Terry at LVMCOG no later than 12 p.m. on Monday, June 20th, 2022. The email address will remain open during the meeting for providing public comment during the meeting. Emails received during the meeting will be read out loud at the appropriate time during the meeting, provided they are received before the board takes action on an item, or can be read during general public comment. For any questions regarding the virtual meeting, please contact Terry at lvmcog.org. Okay, I will call to order now. Terry, please.
If everyone could be on mute, that would be great. Roll call, Eniko Gold.
Here.
Chris Anstead.
Here.
Kelly Honig.
Here.
Alicia Weintraub. David Shapiro. Okay. We do have a quorum with President Farrer.
I'm here.
We do have a quorum with 4 members present.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment?
I have not received any public comment requests via email, phone, or text.
Okay, thank you. The consent calendar. Consent items will be approved in one motion unless removed for separate discussion or action. Has anything been pulled?
And nothing has been pulled.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second. Roll call vote, please.
Eniko Gold.
Yes.
Chris Anstead.
Yes.
Kelly Honig.
Yes.
Karen Farrer.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Information items. Terry, do you have a report?
That's me. I do. So on the positive side, I have some good news to report under the election results for Metro Board member R. Nigerian, who represents us. He has moved from 4th place to 3rd place and appears to be trending in the right direction. He's currently ahead by a slim 73 votes, but I spoke with him over the weekend and he's feeling hopefully optimistic that he's trending in the right direction. As I included in my report, he is scheduled to become Metro Board Chair July 1st. And so this is really kind of critical for him and for his area that he represents, and of course us. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that that continues to move in the right direction. The grant for the COG's hazard mitigation plan took a turn for the worse a week or so ago when I received this request for information from Cal OES that read like the phone book of additional information that's now required under FEMA guidelines. So I am working with Cal OES to finalize the grant. Hopefully we'll have it finalized by the end of next week. The thing that I did want to alert you to, one of the items that came up late last week was that each city needs to have, as we've done before, except before we did it later in the process, each city, there has to be a letter stating that the city is willing to participate in the hazard mitigation grant program. And so it's not, in the past, it's not something that has been approved by the city council. It's basically just been a staff item that the city manager has prepared and forwarded to me that gets included. So I will be sending out a template for the city managers to use to prepare that letter. And I'll follow up with them separately from the COG meeting. And let's see, we have a COG homeless working group meeting scheduled to begin, scheduled for next Monday. And in addition to that, earlier in the day, myself and Jessica Flores, who's the COG's new homeless administrative support person, we're going to do a short ride along with Gabriel that day, a couple hours in the morning and a couple hours in the afternoon before we have the meeting. So that'll give Jessica a better idea of Gabriel's duties and responsibilities. And in addition, it'll be the first time that I've ridden along with him. And he says he's a great driver, so I'm very encouraged. So that'll be good. And then I'm continuing to work with the COG cities individually. I've already received various projects from a number of the cities for the COG's 9th year of Measure M funding. And in addition to that, I just recently reconfirmed with Madeline Moore, who's Supervisor Kuehl's transportation deputy, that the additional $12 million that the COG discussed earlier this year, that the supervisor continues to be supportive of allocating that fund or those funds. And so I will also be finalizing that discussion with your staff over the summer, the next couple of months. So that's also encouraging. And then I think that's, yeah, everything else is pretty boring. So you can read that when you have your have time, but that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Moving down the line. Do we have a report from Captain C2? Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I think, Karen, if I could interject real quick under information items after mine, then we were going to have an update on Campus Kilpatrick, but I know
Excuse
we've
me.
continued that.
Yes, excuse me for skipping that. Thanks,
Oh, that's
Terry.
Yeah, and so then we would go to item 5C.
Thank you, Jen.
Item 5C is Kevin and Drew on the call?
I see Kevin. Drew,
I'm here. Chief Smith is hopping on now, so he should be on in a couple seconds.
Okay, great. So we really want to talk about communication and expectations during an emergency. So we had, and for those of you guys, Kevin is such a great partner, a resident of Agoura Hills, and is Kevin and Drew and I have been connected at the hip since I got back here, and it's been great, like meeting with them. We spent hours and hours together, just talking preparedness. And so I do want to turn it over to Kevin to start to kick it off and just kind of start talking about communications during a disaster. Kevin, you on him?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. I know it's been a little while since we closed out the Woolsey Fire after action process. So this is really a good opportunity for us now to update on everything related to kind of the evolution of our emergency management. Sorry for the background noise. There's a lot going on right now. So really what we wanted to do was identify that, following the Woolsey Fire after action process, we've enhanced our coordination skill sets and then also some of the different pathways related to the incident command posts and then also the emergency operations center for the county and all of the different coordination centers that get stood up when we have these large disasters. And then in addition to that, we've refined how we do emergency notifications to the public. So I kind of wanted to break it down into two different distinct groups and then really rely on Jen and Drew to give their perspective as it relates to their organizations. So first, I'm going to discuss really quickly the public notification side. And we've talked about this over the last 2 years through the after action process, but really what we've done is transition from a locally driven program, Alert LA County, and then the city, each of the cities that has its own emergency notification program, to really relying on our wireless emergency alerts right out of the gate. And to be much more proactive on our notifications. So we used to send out notifications directly to the impacted areas. Now we're using a combination of social media, traditional media, and then these emergency notification tools to hit wide audiences that might not only be impacted, but might have interest in the notification. So like I have briefed out in some of the previous after action items, the practical experiences we've put to play have been with the Bobcat fire and the Lake fire predominantly. And I think our emergency notifications through those processes really were substantially improved compared to what we did during the Woolsey fire. Now let's talk about internal communications. So I think, one of the bigger aspects that came out of the Woolsey fire as it relates to internal notifications was timeliness. So when a significant fire occurs, how quickly are we notifying our partners and then telling our partners where they should send an agency representative so that they can be a part of the emergency response coordination aspect. And what we've seen over the last 2 years and what we continue to advocate for is rapid notification through our partnerships. So I'll use an example. When a fire starts, Drew and his team will usually send out text messages to the cities and to the county partners, letting them know that, there's a wildfire occurring. But I really want to rewind the clock a little bit because I think we've done a pretty good job over time in doing that. Really, one of the game changers is starting before we even have a fire, we're doing active communication. So I'll reference back to Thanksgiving of last year. We had a pretty significant public safety power shutoff and critical fire weather event that was going to occur. And days before the fire weather started, we had already started, we collectively within the county emergency teams had started notifying and communicating to all of our partners the impacts that were going to occur from public safety power shutoffs and then the fire weather. And in some cases, we actively put in place some preventative measures, such as, I think for a period of time, we restricted some different traffic through the Topanga Canyon area. And so that's really step one nowadays that we've solidified through process and procedure, is that on critical fire weather, we're going to send out notifications to all of our city and special district partners to let them know that we are in a critical fire weather area or period of time, and that we're all monitoring. Within the EOC, we actually stand up a team now during critical fire weather. I'll call it a soft emergency operations center activation, where we have people monitoring and ready to start facilitating coordination directly with fire, sheriff, and then our city and DMAC partners. Then if an event occurs, depending on the size and the scale of the event, Drew's team, Jen's team, and my team will start communicating with our identified stakeholders to put everyone kind of on notice that this is occurring, and that, you know, if there's an agency representative need, that these organizations can provide that agency representative to the command post or the emergency operations center. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jen and Drew to see if I left anything out or if they want to add anything.
Just real quick. So I had a talk with someone from an EOC here in one of the communities, and the conversation was, okay, so during a fire, you'll come to our EOC, and I'm like, that's never going to happen. And then it was, okay, well, during an earthquake, you'll come to our EOC, and I said, nope, that's never going to happen. Okay, well, what about a gas leak? You're going to come to our EOC. And I'm like, that's never going to happen. So really, you know, I think all of us kind of need to understand that it will be, you know, Drew, Kevin, and I working the problem together, and we will determine where we are going to set up a unified command. So I just want to make sure the expectation is out there that during an emergency, I can't think of one situation where we would establish, we would go to your EOC. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with that, and that Drew and I will always, and Kevin, we will always communicate where we're going to establish unified command. So Drew, do you want to go ahead and take it over from here?
I do. Thank you. Yeah. So I'll hitch my wagon to Kevin and Jen here. So we have a lot of pre-fire team building and best practice. So talking about the pre-fire, Kevin talked about the awareness tool. So from LA County Fire, we send out a fire danger message that gets distributed to OEM and to Lost Hills Sheriff. So that can be distributed throughout. So everybody has the gravity of what the potential is. And we always have to think potential. Also on that pre-fire setting, if there's a high risk day, we have a 1300 conference call with the National Weather Service, which are partners from LA County to San Luis Obispo County to Orange County that are on, but also in part of that conference call is whether it's OEM or some agencies call their shop OES are on that. So that information pre-fire and what the relative risk is based upon fire weather and or even significant flooding or lightning activity levels. So the whole public safety component, I don't want everybody to pin themselves into just a fire, but will be fire centric for this time. One thing, and we're talking about information distribution. One of the biggest failures we see is everybody wanting to send out the information first. And as Captain C2 said, we talked about unified command. Everything on information distribution and whatever platform we do it on has to be a unified message that's approved by the incident commanders. And if we're sending out the right message through our cooperators, stakeholders, the public, that's in our best interest for the right information if it leads to other things, such as a structure component on if we're in evacuations and whatever mode that is. And so language and how that's framed means a lot. So the best thing that a city can do that has an interest and wants to know what is going on, it has to be piped through the public information officer or to the liaison officer with those contacts that we all know that we have, because chances are Kevin could be overwhelmed, Captain C-Tune can be overwhelmed, and I can be overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by that, I mean, is because we're in command. We are not in the information distribution component. We are in the potentially the incident commanders, and or we're in the field directing in an operations function from the law side. It could be Captain C2 and her Lost Hills group. So the availability for us to distribute the information may not be there. That's why we have representatives that work for us to give our cities or interest people the information that's coming from the incident command post. If you want to show up at the incident command post, we accept that, and we want you to do that, but just know that when you come to the incident command post, it's the right person to talk to, which is going to be the public information officer, and or it's going to be the liaison officer, which could be one at the same on an early incident. So the information that we share is highly important to get the right message out to the groups that are affected with that. So what I'll do now is I'll leave it to Megan. I'll let Captain C2 chime in if there's anything I missed, and then also Kevin McGowan if he has anything else he'd like to add. So I'll start with Megan Courier.
Good morning. I think you covered it perfectly. I think, you know, city managers that I work with know our process from fire, where the information is going to come from. If something happens, they can reach out directly to me. And then, you know, moving into an incident, that we will be sharing the information directly with them. So I think you covered it perfectly.
Okay.
Can I, hey, Drew,
yeah, there you are, Kev.
Just jump in one more thing. I just wanted to give a big round of applause or a thank you to all of the cities for participating in OEM and fire and sheriff's efforts for, well, it's called Zone Haven, but really what it is a notification / evacuation zone development. And this is, you know, an item that was specifically called out in the Woolsey after action, but it's something that we know beyond just Woolsey is an important and valuable tool. And just really wanted to say that I appreciate the partnership with the cities, working with fire and sheriff and OEM to develop the zones. We now have the whole entire Las Virgenes-Malibu COG area is zoned out, and Megan and Bennett from my team and members of Jen's team are going to be meeting over the next month to kind of test the system on the backside, like a beta test. And your teams are a part of that also. And, you know, by the time we get into really heavy fire season, it should be an operational asset, and that will help with coordination, communication, and notification to our residents. So just again, thanks for having your city teams as a partner, and that is really appreciated. And with that, I'll hand it back to Jen.
I think everything was covered, and please, if there's any questions, you know, please ask. You got all three of us on the phone. If you guys have any question, actually, Megan's the expert in all of this. If you have any questions at all, please, this is the time for us to kind of work this out. And we just really wanted to set the stage of what that communication is going to look like, what that expectation is going to be. You know, I was unaware that someone actually thought I was going to show up at their EOC. I was absolutely unaware of that. So it's really important to like understand what the expectation will be. And you guys are always welcome to come to our unified command or command post, like Chief Smith said. So any questions that we can answer for you? Anybody? And if not, Kevin, do you want to talk a little bit about NOAA?
Oh yeah, thanks for the reminder, Jen. In addition to Zone Haven, another item that OEM's been working on, and it's really a partnership with fire and sheriff also, is enhancing our notification tools. And, you know, with public safety power shutoffs, there's potential for impacts to landlines and cell phones, which really can potentially negatively impact wireless emergency alerts or alert LA County, or if your city has a notification system organic to the city. So we worked in partnership with the National Weather Service and NOAA, their parent organization, and they have been piloting they've had for a really long time the weather radio system, but recently they were able to add an additional capability to the weather radio system to make it an all hazards tool. And so now we use some Homeland Security and emergency management grants to purchase a bunch of NOAA weather radios. And we've been testing with the National Weather Service LA field office the ability to send out notifications through weather radios. And it's an audio notification. It's not just an audible tone, but it's voice, and it can be in English and Spanish. It's the National Weather Service LA field office forecast desk that actually sends out the message, but they do it in partnership with the county's emergency operations center or the sheriff's department's SIB, which is the Sheriff Information Bureau. So both of the Sheriff Information Bureau and the EOC OEM have the ability to push that notification to National Weather Service, and then they send the message and it activates the weather radio to push out a verbal message. So we will be working, actually Megan is gonna run point for the Las Virgenes-Malibu COG area. So thank you, Megan, with a pretty awesome distribution plan for getting out those radios. But even if people aren't able to get the free county radio, generally speaking, the radios are pretty affordable. You could go to Amazon and just type in a weather radio and hundreds of different models come up. They range anywhere between, $12 to $15 all the way up to like the $30 and $40 range. What's great about the weather radios is they just kind of sit idle until that push notification wakes it up. And you could just plug it into your kitchen or on your nightstand, and it literally just sits there silent. And then what's great about them is they all have an internal battery capability. So when the power goes off, they'll be, usually they're still alive for about 24 to 48 hours. So anytime that message goes out, it wakes itself up, it pushes that message. It's very typical to like what we used to see on the TV when they would run EAS messages, where it would give a tone and then it would say what the emergency was. And we would see that on various channels. So thanks again, Jen, for bringing that up. But that's also a new capability that we're going to be rolling out over the summer.
Thanks, Kevin. So if I can couple onto that. So with the NOAA weather radios, your Los Angeles County Fire Department is a significant contributor behind the promulgation of a red flag. So we work with the National Weather Service to look at fuels data. They give us the climatology. We look at the relative risk. We have a very sophisticated fire modeling system within LA County that we use to give us that potential. So it's not something that is just broadcasting without any warning. There's a lot of lead up time to see what our, and I use the word vulnerability is, vulnerabilities are within the climatology and the fuel beds on where that's going to happen throughout LA County. So your Los Angeles County Fire Department is a significant contributor to an issuance of a red flag with our intelligence. And one thing that I'd like to end with is yearly, and it's been going on for 20 years, and we've made it better every year. And I've talked about it before, but tomorrow is our annual wildland workshop for the area. And that's where we bring OEM, we bring our law partners and the big fire agencies. And the big fire agencies are Ventura County, LA City, and Los Angeles County, and also our law partners associated with those agencies. And we have a workshop so we can have the law component discuss and talk about the footprint of the Woolsey fire and best practice and how to enhance what we did through communications. The fire partners talk about tactics on the ground. We talk about notifications from the IC, incident command posts, our air operations. And it's a very robust workshop that we have and that'll be going on tomorrow. And so when everybody leaves the room with new faces and old faces, we leave the room at the end of the day with everybody is going to be consistent on the same message and the best practice for what we're going to do. And then we can teach that to our people that are below us and our subordinates. So it's actually has a lot of value to it. And everybody that's on this call within your public safety component, from Kevin McGowan's shop to Jen C2's shop, is very involved in this. So just wanted you to know that that is going on, and we will talk about that at our next meeting or what we come out with. Thank you.
And Steve, I saw you had your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Drew and Jen, for the great report and all your efforts. So quick question, and I know you had mentioned the PSPS. I was wondering if you could give us any update or anything that you knew about the efforts of the major cell providers to get backup battery to the major cell towers, so that when we do have an extended outage, that people could still, use 911 to, use their cell phones to call 911. Do you have any update on where they're at with that?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So I'll answer it in two ways. One, there's still an ongoing effort, but I have more detailed information. I have a member of my team who's actually been closely tracking this over the last couple months for an update. Can I get Terry an email later today with kind of more precise information for Terry to be able to distribute to the whole COG group? I just don't want to say something that I underestimate, and then, everyone sits for the whole day thinking that not much was getting done. But I have a person on my team that's been tracking it. I know there's progress being made. I just need to be a little bit more precise specifically about that. So if possible, Steve, and to the will of the group, I would send that out. I can send that as an email to Terry for distribution later today.
Thanks, Kevin. Karen had to step away for a moment, but she'll be right back.
I was wondering, Terry, if I may, and with
Sure.
Chris's permission, I was wondering if Nate could update the group on the I call them fireboxes that we're contemplating installing throughout the city. And so, Nate, if you're on, could you? I remember that we had a discussion, I think, with Chris and I, and the law enforcement and the fire safety committee. So if you could could you update the group on what they will look like going forward? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. So I mean, we're kind of following suit, and Malibu actually did these first, so we are not the first to do it. We're kind of following in their shoes a little bit. And really, I mean, I'm just going to give you the gist of it. They're boxes for when mutual aid comes into the area. They've got a QR code. They've got some information maps and information just about our community in those. And we're putting out 10 of those this week. And basically it's that, and we've been working close with Drew Smith and the fire department. We appreciate all their help, but that's pretty much what we're doing, is kind of following what Malibu's done. And I know a couple other agencies in Southern California have done to address just mutual aid coming into the area beyond the communication that we're doing.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Karen, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Terry. All right. Thank you all. Yeah, it's time to think about emergency communications yet again. So moving on down the agenda, city reports, item 5D. Agoura Hills.
Good morning again. Thank you. So in regards to the COVID front, we have had several cases with staff. Looks like that's under control. We haven't had to shut down to our services be affected by that. We are still in-person council meetings and planning commission meetings with the public allowed to be in person, but most of them participating via hybrid or Zoom. And then probably just the next thing is our summer programs. Like probably all the cities are in full swing. We just had our first movie and concert in the park, and so it's good to see everybody out again and events starting to look as they did before. And so with that, I don't know if Chris or Dennis, you have anything else you'd like to add?
Actually, I just wanted to add that I feel like we have a great community event with the movie in the park. I was there actually for that event and well attended. And so I think it's great. The residents are getting out and enjoying themselves out, and especially outside is even better. So so things are going good. That's the only comment I have.
Okay, thank you. Calabasas, COVID report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to everybody. On the COVID front, just like some of the other cities, we did see a small spike in staff COVID positive cases. We've seen a significant decline over the last week and a half, and really minimal loss of time or work productivity with those cases. A couple other items is like Agoura Hills, we have our first concert in the park, well attended, and very exciting to see public and the community supporting those events. On the water and drought, we've been working closely with the water district, Las Virgenes Water District, and we've seen our community respond to the mandates and the reduced watering schedules, and have started to see a trend downwards. We're excited about that, and we hope that we can sustain it, especially as it continues to heat up. But we are seeing some positive momentum from there, and looking at some efforts through the city that we can do to conserve water as well.
Okay, anybody else from Calabasas?
Mayor Pro Tem Shapiro is on, but I'm not sure if he has anything else to add. And David?
I think you've covered all. We had a great, as you mentioned, great concert. So in the words of the Journey tribute band, "Don't Stop Believing," good job. We just hope to be back in person, but we'll see. You already mentioned that. So thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. Hidden Hills?
I'm muted. 2.5 years of this and I'm still muting. Good morning. Not a lot to report. We were gearing up to return to in-person council meetings, and with the, I don't even know if we called a surge, we just decided to wait again. So we're still 100% remote. We have our summer recess end of July, beginning of August, and we'll reevaluate at that point. The only other item is on the drought. Really appreciate the partnerships with the city. I know there's been a lot of cross sharing of information, and working with the water district on finding ways to keep our city facilities irrigated and with recycled water. So they've been really helpful. So that's all I have, and I don't believe there's anything else. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. All right, Malibu.
Thank you, Chair Fair. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, in terms of COVID, I think my report is fairly similar to what Agoura and Calabasas and maybe Hidden Hills went through. We did have a few employees that have come down with cases over the past few weeks, but we've managed to continue on with our operations, and people seem to be getting back to work now. So keeping an eye on that. In terms of our city council and commission meetings, we are continuing to meet remotely for the time being. I think we'll probably take that up after we return from our break in the summer. And speaking of summer, today is officially the first day of summer, and you can sure tell in Malibu, it starts to get very busy this time of year, particularly, as you well know, on PCH, and traffic safety is a big concern as we head into the summer months. One good note on that is the city has been able to establish a temporary day use impound yard for vehicles that have been towed. So that is help. I believe it's going to help with the sheriff's department as well as their tow providers to be able to get vehicles, where they shouldn't be, and then be able to get the trucks back out onto the road on PCH. So That's a good development for us. And I think that's it for my report, and I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Fair, for anything else from Malibu.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And I will just take this opportunity to reiterate that the COG will not meet in July, coinciding with the City of Malibu break, and we will reconvene in August. So let's move on to Westlake Village. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Yeah, similar report from Westlake Village in terms of the COVID front. Not a lot of change from last month. The council's continuing to meet in person, with the public being able to participate in person or virtual. And our council committee meetings are all still virtual for the time being. Summer activities are back in full swing like the other cities. So we've had 2 concerts so far. We have a movie in the park planned, and we have extensive 4th of July festivities planned, including a parade and festivities at the park, and then fireworks in the evening. So that's going to be exciting here in a couple of weeks. In addition to that, the drought certainly keeping us all really busy. Appreciate working with all the cities of the COG and Las Virgenes Water District, and just being responsive and doing what we can to communicate the new mandates that we're all trying to deal with. Fortunately, we have a really extensive recycled water program in the city of Westlake Village. So all of our medians and parks and so on are all on recycled system, which is great. The other notable thing for this past month is the council approved the fiscal budget for 22-23. So that was a lot of work for the staff and the council. I'm happy to get that across the finish line. Still pretty conservative. It sort of relates to COVID, as we still sort of recovering in a lot of ways, but certainly one of the themes in our budget is pedestrian safety and designing and building sidewalks. So we'll be very busy with that, and if all goes to plan, we'll also hopefully build some pickleball courts. So we're kind of excited about that idea as well. So that's all I have to report, but I see we have Kelly and Ray on as well, so maybe they have something to add.
Hi, everyone. Super excited about the pickleball courts. So when we get them built, you get to come over and play. Yes, all I wanted to say was fireworks are on Westlake, in Westlake Village. So come on over. We're back. So on the golf course as usual. Ray, did you want to add something? Okay. Anyway, good to see you guys. Oh, I did want to say, yes, so Westlake Village recesses in August on a different schedule than the COG. So one of us will be here in August, maybe Ray, right, Ray? If I can make it worth Ray's while to trade off with me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Moving on to item 6. Is there anything that we have yet to cover with public safety agency partner updates? If so, please, by all means. And if not, okay, Jen?
With the only thing with Sheriff's Department, so we got through the end of the school year, and I hope that everybody noticed the increase in law enforcement at every school, but that it doesn't end there. And so that's just the beginning. And we've had great long conversations with Dr. Stepanovsky, their ongoing conversations. So we're really working out a plan right now. And then we've had many meetings with Malibu and the school district, and Councilmember Farrar's just been leading the way on that, along with Steve and Paul Grisani. So very, very thankful for all your support and what we can do to make sure that we protect our kids and make that one of our priorities. And then again, tomorrow's meeting with all the entities for preparedness, and really those radios that Kevin McCall talked about, and those NOAA radios, those really are game changers. And having been through Woolsey with Drew Smith, I'm sure, and I'm speaking for Drew right now, but if we could have had that technology, or the technology existed, but if we could have had one in every home, it has been such a game changer. So whatever we can do as a COG to really push that to our communities, that would be great. And then we are starting active shooter training. So we will be working with some of the schools to bring active shooter training in the schools. So we're bringing a couple members from our SWAT team. You'll see our SWAT team out here working with our deputies. One city contacted me about actually using their city hall. So we're open. If there's a event that you guys would like our SWAT at, or or want to work at your city hall, just give me a call. Let me know. We're always looking for new venues, so deputies are used to not just the same venue clearing at the exact same time, but really being exposed to more. So we are getting SWAT to come out for the chili cook-off. So that's in place in Malibu. So and other than that, the fireworks show, there's 2 in the entire city of the COG area, which is going to be Calabasas and Westlake. I will be at the parade in Westlake in the morning, and then headed to Malibu, and then coming back, and we'll be at the fireworks show in Westlake. So excited to celebrate in a really safe area. So thank you for all that, and I apologize for the city council meetings. I had to cancel because of COVID, but I'm back and can get it for at least 90 days. So that's a good thing for summer. But if you guys need me, just reach out. So thank you again.
Thank you, Captain. I saw Chief Smith's hand up.
I do have just so going into the 4th of July, we have a plan in place with Lost Hills Sheriffs to where we have arson watch, that we've identified areas for them to be mobile for that early warning component. There'll most likely be some road control measures that are in place in our high fire hazard areas throughout the Santa Monica Mountains. So just wanted to let you know that we're proactive in posting signs and that community outreach and just policing the area for people that maybe aren't local, that are local, that are out and about on the 2nd to 5th of July, just so we can have that awareness and educate people and be proactive in stopping something that could lead to a catastrophe, let's just say. That's all I have from the fire side of the house.
Thank you, Chief. Megan?
Yes, so I just wanted to speak a little bit more about the distribution plan for those NOAA weather radios. Tessa and I have been working together, and we have scheduled some distribution events. We're trying to basically get all of the radios that we have, or the majority of the radios that we have, out in the first couple weeks of August. And then we're planning on having a virtual training session for anyone that has received one of the radios to learn more about them, how to use them, any questions that people may have about the radios. So we've scheduled a few of those events in the unincorporated areas, and then I'm going to be individually reaching out to each one of the cities to schedule one of these distribution events, either at your city hall or another location centrally located within each city, to try to get these out before that training session, which is planning to be on August 23rd. So I will be reaching out to city staff. And then another important point I wanted to make about the radios, Kevin mentioned how you can purchase them online. There are a lot of weather radios available, but one important thing to make sure that the radio has, if you decide to purchase one, is that it has SAME technology. I believe that stands for specific area messaging encoding or encryption. And basically what that is it allows you to program the radio to only get certain types of notifications, because there are a lot of weather alerts that go out. So if you have a radio and it's just open to any alert, you'll get alerts all the time, like fog warning, marine warning. So it's important to get this SAME technology so that you can kind of filter out some of the less important alerts and only get fire or whatever you decide to have. So that was just something I wanted to let you guys know before anyone goes out and purchases one. And then I'll be reaching out about the distribution dates in August.
Megan, I have a question about those weather radios. When you say you're going to distribute to the cities, are you distributing it through the cities to residents that are interested? I mean, is there going to be hundreds of these radios coming out?
I have 5,000 radios right now. So I'm trying to get them out to people.
Yeah.
We obviously would like to focus on people that maybe, have mobility issues or are going to have a harder time evacuating, so if they have more warning. But there is no real like means testing or anything. It's just if someone is interested, we will have them available.
So I assume you're working maybe through Area B or through our emergency preparedness staff to figure this out.
So yes, Deb from AB knows about it, and I've also spoken like with Chantel and Mike, and so each city staff, I'm going to speak with the public safety people and try to.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you, Megan. Moving on, Cal Cities, Jeff.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I just wanted to touch base on a few things. Obviously, the legislature is working on budget trailer bills right now. They did pass their main budget last week in time for their constitutional deadline. We are still working on getting the 500 million for the housing and economic development program that we're seeking, and then nearly the 933 million for the unfunded mandates, those funds that the cities have already paid out that the state still owes us back, going as far back as 2004. So those are the things we're working on this budget. And hopefully you did hear that our $180 million for the organic recycling is included in the budget bill that passed last week. So these budget trailer bills are going to be dripping out over the next several weeks, if not months. So we still have an opportunity to get those other two items into the budget. So we're working on that. Unfortunately, last week we did hear from Assemblymember Lee that AB 1944, the Brown Act modernization bill, had to be shelved. He didn't find a way forward in the state Senate to get that moving. So he did have to halt that bill. We're going to continue to work with him and other members of the legislature, hopefully in the coming months, to see what we can get done next year on this same Brown Act modernization. I will mention also the other bill that was sort of moving along a parallel path, AB 2449. That bill, we've actually had to update our position to oppose unless amended. That's moving in the wrong direction and now is more restrictive than the current Brown Act by requiring some of the language, simultaneous language translation as well. So we are moving on and seeing what we can do in the coming year on that bill. As far as housing policy, AB 2011 by Assemblymember Wicks, that is in the Senate Housing Committee today at 1:30. I'm certainly going to be watching that. That bill would make by right within a half mile of a major transit stop any 100% affordable housing in an office, retail, or parking zone, or if that's a mixed use development, 15% affordable housing would be required there. But again, that's by right development, over-the-counter permit, so that's something that we're opposing. But we have three opportunities to sort of stop this bill before it reaches the Senate floor. It's in Senate Housing today, which I fully anticipate it will get out of without any trouble, but it's also double referred to the Environmental Quality Committee, or triple referred, I should say, to Environmental Quality and to Government Finance. So we're going to be working those committees as we kind of wind through the process in the next few weeks before they go on their summer break. Other than that, I just wanted to remind everyone, we have our installation event for the LA County Division coming up on August the 4th. We're going to obviously be thanking Calabasas Council Member James Bazagian for being our president for the past year and swear in our new members. That's going to take place in Diamond Bar with incoming President Andrew Cho's hometown. And then, of course, our annual conference in September. If you are planning on getting a hotel and you haven't booked it yet, please do that this week. If they are going to, I expect our hotel block will be sold out by the end of this week, if not sooner. But I'm happy to answer any questions on any of that or any other bills that have come up.
Thanks, Jeff. Anybody, any questions? Okay, you covered it all.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, moving on. Agency partners, Tessa?
Yeah. I wanted to add on to what Megan was saying about NOAA radios, and you covered it all, except for one piece, which is that anyone who takes a radio will just need to fill out a very simple online form, because the county does need to track who has the radios. We're not going to take it away from you, but it's important for that to happen. And we're going to be distributing in places in unincorporated areas like Malibu Lake, Seminole Springs, Sunset Mesa, and of course in Topanga. I also wanted to mention that I know most of you are under the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District, and you're participating in biweekly meetings with their team. They have fantastic videos and information to share with residents, but Malibu and Topanga are under Waterworks 29. So, and those water restrictions are different. So for the Malibu crew, if you need any additional information, if your residents do, let me know and I can be sure to get that for you, because I know that's confusing. It's just right over the hill, and your water, the restrictions are different. I wanted to mention that probably September, maybe October, we're going to be holding another Homeless Connect Day in Malibu. So we have our first meeting on Friday, I think at 10 o'clock. I think Karen, your team is coming. I don't know if anybody else, Gabriel, if you're interested in participating, but certainly as the date approaches, as we have details, will involve all of you. We'd love to have you participate. And the last thing I wanted to mention, this is an LA County motion that passed the week before last, that the supervisors are taking a step to ban gas-powered leaf blowers in unincorporated communities, which is really great news. There's a feasibility study happening, and then a report back in October 2022. But sometime soon after that, we are anticipating a phasing out of gas-powered leaf blowers. I guess one final thing, because you're not meeting in July, because Supervisor Kuehl is departing, we normally have 2 discretionary grant funding opportunities. I thought our last round was the last one, but we have one other one coming up, and it's going to be, the due date is actually earlier. They moved it up a month. So rather than October, it's going to be September 1st for nonprofit organizations that serve communities. So I can get a link to you. I can put it in the chat. Please spread the word to your nonprofits. We'd love to have you participate.
That's great. Thank you very much, Tessa. Okay, I didn't mean to skip legislative staff. Do we have anyone giving us any updates?
And
We
not
have
that,
Jeff
not that I've
already?
seen.
Okay, and any other agency partners? Have I missed anyone? Okay. Moving on to 7 action items. 7A, homeless grant funding statement of work. Terry?
Yes. So we finally received our grant from the county. It's not ready for signature yet because there's a couple of minor corrections, but we did receive the go-ahead, and I'd like to highlight a few things in there very quickly. Number one, the grant provides for a approximate 5% increase in Gabriel's contract. So his contract will go from $69,000 to $72,000, including his current car allowance for that he has, and also his $100 phone allowance, 400 car and 100 phone. So that worked out. And then there's also the $12,000 for the administrative assistant part-time that that the COG retained, as I mentioned earlier, Jessica Flores. And then there's funding that has not been allocated, that's about $200,000, and I will be working with the COG's homeless working group to program that, whether we divide it amongst the cities in accordance with the homeless count, or if there's another recommendation. But I'll be working with them over the next month or two, and then we'll come back to the governing board with a recommendation at the August meeting on how to allocate those additional funds. So that's all that I have, but I would be happy to answer any questions with regard to the grant from the county for homelessness.
Thanks, Terry. Anyone, any questions? Okay, and then item 7B.
I need a motion
Oh,
to
excuse me.
approve. That's okay.
I so move. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Eniko Gold,
Yes.
Chris Anstead,
Yes, yes.
Kelly's still here. Kelly
I'm still
Honig.
here. Yes.
And David Shapiro
Yes.
and President Fair.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Moving on to item 7B.
Items.
Yes.
Item 7B, the COG's annual budget for 22-23 is included in your agenda packet. I'm pleased to report that does not require a dues increase. The COG is in good shape financially. The projected balance, ending balance at the end of June is $29,000 with an additional $27,000 in accrued that are fourth quarter reimbursements expected from Metro, and the projected revenue of $373,000 from the COG dues. Our MOU with Metro for $107,000 for the board deputy. Our Measure M planning reimbursement for $57,250. The LA County homeless grant for Gabriel for $72,000, and for the administrative support of $12,000. So including the total revenue with the ending balance and accrued, it's at $429,544. The projected expenses are the executive director position, Metro Board Deputy, homeless outreach, administrative support, the COG's liability insurance, which is explained in the detailed budget report. And then $2,500 for COG counsel is also, as I explained in there. Larry Weiner, who has been the COG counsel since the beginning, very rarely bills the COG for any time that he incurs, unless it's something like if we ask him to prepare a contract or something like that. So he's a great partner to have. And I'd be happy to answer any questions with regard to any details within the budget if you'd like.
Thanks, Terry. Does anyone have any questions regarding the budget? Okay, it says recommended action. I assume that means a motion to approve the budget.
Yes, the city managers did review it and are recommending approval via the TAC.
Okay, would someone like to make that motion?
I'll move the item Shapiro for Calabasas.
Okay, I'll second. Roll call, please.
Eniko Gold,
Yes.
Chris Anstead,
Yes.
Kelly Honig,
Yes.
David Shapiro,
Yes.
President Fair.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Terry. All right, item 7C. Returning to
items-
in-person / hybrid meetings.
Yes. That's entirely up to the governing board. So I will just say that wherever you meet and whenever you meet, I will be there.
Thank you. Eniko?
Thank you, President Ferrer. I just want to say I recently recovered from COVID-19 and I had a really hard time, actually. I couldn't get out of bed. So I'm just grateful that we have a chance to meet virtually, and I hope that will continue until, the summer travels are done and we'll see where we are in the pandemic. I think that would be really reasonable for us to do. And again, I had a really hard time with COVID, so I don't wish it on anyone, what I went through a couple of weeks ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Eniko. I'm very sorry to hear that. Anyone else?
I do, before I go, we're doing fine like this. There's no reason to change it right now. We've not received any complaints from the public. It's good. So I agree with Eniko that, we can continue on like this for, an indeterminate period of time until until we can't, maybe. But I don't think that we're lacking anything by just staying remote. It's fine. And people don't have to drive because we have many partners that, are not local to our COG. So it's good. We should just stay this way.
Thanks, Kelly. Anyone else? David.
Thank you. I'll just add support to reevaluate this maybe after the break, which is August or September, depending upon what city we're in. And it has worked fine, my understanding from Alicia, and she is supportive of continuing this role until it's safe to go back in person.
Thanks, David. Anybody else? And I will just add my support as well. As Kelly said, it's working fine. We're getting all of the business done that we need to do. And I will just say regarding the point Eniko made, travel does bring, I believe, additional risks. And I think when the summer travel period is over, maybe that's a time to take another look at it. So do we need a motion for this, Terry?
No, we can just
Okay.
continue.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 8, general comments and request for future agenda items. Anyone? Okay, that looks like we're ready to move on to item 9, closed session. So we will leave this meeting for the moment or recess to closed session. And I think you all have the link. If anyone doesn't, please say so now. You do not have the link, Chris. It was sent. Let me see here. Can we put that link in the chat?
Philippe has it. Yeah.
Philippe, do you mind doing
Philippe,
that?
can you send it to Chris Anstead?
Yes, ma'am. I'll send it right now. I won't put it in
you.
the chat. It's a
Okay.
private closed
Okay.
session. I will send it to Chris Anstead right now.
Perfect. Excuse me. I think I meant to say that. Okay. Thank you. All right, let's recess to the other meeting. Thank you.
You guys.
And Karen, just let me know when you want me to join if you do.
Second.
Okay. All right, just waiting on a couple more people to log in.
This is the only part of not meeting in person that gets a little complicated.
Eniko was saying she had some kind of an issue with her desktop computer, so it took her a minute to get into closed session. Maybe it's same thing happening here. There's David. Okay. Oh, should we be letting the city managers and others from the meeting know to log back in?
Yeah, I guess. Let's see.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, David.
Hi, Terry. I could not do it on the computer, so I'm back on the phone. I think I need.
Let's see. Just trying to text a few. Let's see, Nate, Rob,
And is Kelly coming back to the regular meeting, Ray? Do you know?
He is not.
Okay, okay.
Okay, I texted all the city managers.
Okay, great. We're almost finished here. Okay, there's Steve. Okay. Hopefully they log in before 10 o'clock. Terry, do you think we ought to send out that link again rather than just say log back in?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Let's see. So I'm going Carrie. 8. Who else are we missing? Rob
And Eniko.
and Eniko. Okay, I just sent it to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, toggling back and forth between Zoom meetings can get complicated.
Is that what you're doing this morning?
No, well,
Okay.
I mean
Closed
for
session and
the
open, yeah.
governing board, yeah, going back and forth. No, I don't have anything else.
And I'm not sure, other than the governing board and the city managers, if we need the others who were in the earlier part of
No,
the
I
meeting
mean,
back
yeah,
in.
they were welcome to stay on. I think it's similar to the, the public comment. It's kind of nice that on one hand that we don't have the public comment and participation, that just would tend to extend the meeting. Here we go.
Well, in the future, I think we need to maybe have a more explicit plan for getting everybody back in the meeting.
Oh, wait, so you want the city
after
manager?
closed session. Well, we do still have 2 agenda items.
Sorry,
That's okay. Thank you.
I didn't get the memo, and then I ran away from my computer as soon as the Zoom was over.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just saying, Carrie, that Zoom meetings work great until you have to have something like this that just makes it a little more complicated for everybody.
You are preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
My only suggestion is if everybody could text whoever is missing from their city, let them know.
Yeah, I can. So I would assume it's the board members, right? So it's Eniko.
I've done that with the city manager for City Agoura.
Okay, great. There's Eniko. All right, we've got Dennis, Chris. We're getting closer. Rob is missing. Kindon.
I just texted Kindon.
And I texted Rob too.
Thank you.
There's Rob.
There's Rob. Okay.
Everybody.
Well, maybe we ought to just go ahead. I think we definitely have a quorum. So is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Do I give the closed session report, Terry? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So the governing board met in closed session, and the reportable action is that the 2022-23 budget was approved, including Terry's 5% increase and all other provisions in the budget as was presented
Thank you.
by unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, last couple of things. We've got future meeting dates. Terry?
Yes, the future meeting dates will be since we're going dark in July, the meeting dates will be August 3rd for the TAC and the 16th for the governing board.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any other comments from anyone before we adjourn?
Well, I guess I don't want to delay the meeting. I appreciate everyone's time, especially the closed session. I guess I would just ask if there's anything additional that I could be doing, and I'm glad the city managers rejoined. If there's anything additional that you would like me to do, or that you would, I know that Rob and I have had a couple of offline conversations that were addressed at the TAC meeting about maybe looking at broadband and sustainability issues. And I'm noodling around with that to see if if I can present something to the board or the TAC in August that would allow for at least a discussion and provide some direction to me if that's the case. But more so just like anything else that that you would like to focus on or that you would like from me, I'm more than happy to hear that, and enjoy obviously working with all of you, city managers and governing board and alternates. So it's that's the fun part of my job.
Thank you, Terry. Thanks for that offer. Okay, and I see Philippe here. All right, well, I think we all have some things to think about with that. And I believe that's our final comment. So we will
Okay.
adjourn at 10:04 a.m. Thank you all. See
Okay.
you in August.